My husband secretly married his mistress behind my back. They didn't register the marriage, but they threw a lavish wedding. His entire family hid it from me, dressing up and joyfully attending the celebration. On their way back, they were laughing and joking, teasing the mistress's daughter and praising my husband's talents. But then, driving under the influence, they got into a severe car accident. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law became comatose, and my husband died on the spot. The mistress showed up with her daughter, demanding a share of the estate. Laughably, I was the sole beneficiary of his life insurance policy. My husband had been cheating behind my back, yet he maintained the facade of a perfect husband and father. If I craved a dessert, he'd bring it home. If our son wanted the latest toy, no matter how expensive, he'd get it. "My wife and son are the most important people in my life," he'd say, hugging us tightly, proclaiming his happiness. When my parents were sick, he was the first to rush to the hospital, staying up all night to care for them. My parents praised him endlessly, saying even their own son couldn't match his devotion. I placed all my trust in him, believing that even if every man in the world cheated, Michael would never. But reality slapped me hard. From the second year of our marriage, he'd been secretly keeping a mistress, and I was completely unaware. If the mistress hadn't deliberately sent me that photo, I might have remained in the dark forever. In the picture, Michael stood shoulder to shoulder with her, holding a little girl who was only a year younger than our son. The sky was still dark as I gripped my phone, hands trembling, body ice cold. 6 months pregnant and barely able to get out of bed, I glanced at the empty spot beside me, cold all night. Biting my lip, I sank into my thoughts. For days, Michael had been on a business trip, not coming home. He called daily, checking on our son and asking about me with meticulous care. But that night, his phone sent me a photo of the three of them together. Though he quickly retracted the message, I saw it clearly. Michael and the woman, intimately close, holding the girl like a happy family of 3. I didn't sleep that night. Soon after, I heard rustling from the living room. "Mom, this dress is too tight. Help me with the zipper," whispered my sister-in-law, Sarah. "Wait, I'm still getting my gray suit on," replied my mother-in-law, Linda. They spoke softly, thinking they wouldn't wake me, but the house was too quiet. I heard every word. Struggling to sit up, I checked my phone. 4:50 a.m. Why were they up so early? Thirsty, I decided to get water. Then Sarah's voice came again, even quieter. "Shh, Mom. Don't let Lisa hear." Slipping on my shoes, I opened the bedroom door and saw them in the living room, changing in front of a large mirror I'd placed there for convenience. Linda wore a deep red suit, elegant and formal. Sarah was in a pink chiffon dress, looking ready for a wedding. I couldn't hold back. "Linda, Sarah, where are you two headed so early?" They froze, turning with awkward expressions, exchanging glances. I pressed my lips into a faint smile. "And why don't you want me to hear?" Linda's eyes darted away, guilty. Sarah forced a smile. "Oh, nothing, Lisa. You must have misheard. I just told Mom to keep it down so we wouldn't wake you. Right, Mom?" Linda nodded hastily. When I stayed silent, Sarah continued. "Some distant relatives back in our hometown are having a wedding. It's a long drive, so we're leaving early. Didn't want to disturb you." She sounded concerned, as if worried about my sleep. I nodded, pretending to buy it, then said, "Sarah, hold on." I went to my room, grabbed my favorite brooch, and pinned it to her dress. Her eyes lit up. "Wow, Lisa, isn't this your favorite brooch?" I smiled. "It matches your dress perfectly. Looks elegant." She thanked me, and I saw them out, saying, "Drive safely." Once they were gone, I closed the door, returned to my room, and opened my phone to check the surveillance feed. Sarah thought it was just a brooch, unaware I'd embedded a tiny camera in it. Originally for work, but now perfect for this. Their behavior was too suspicious. They were lying. I was about to check the footage when I heard my son, Tommy, groaning in pain. His face was flushed. Panicking, I checked his temperature, 39.8 degrees, dangerously high. My mind raced. Linda and Sarah couldn't have gone far. We had 2 cars. Michael took one, so they must have taken the other. I called Sarah, but the call wouldn't connect. 2 rings, then rejected. Was she driving? I tried Linda. Busy signal. Tommy's face was burning, barely conscious. My heart ached. He'd always been frail, once seizing from a high fever. The doctor had warned us to prevent fevers at all costs. They could be life-threatening. With no choice, I called Michael, who was working in a nearby city an hour's drive away. It was still before 5 a.m. He could make it to the hospital and back. But he didn't answer. Despair hit me like a bucket of ice water. Tommy couldn't wait. 6 months pregnant, I moved slowly and couldn't carry him. I dressed him quickly and knocked on our neighbor's door. "Mark, can you help carry Tommy to the car?" Mark, our kind but reserved neighbor, called a cab and carried Tommy out. I thanked him profusely. He waved it off, then glanced behind me. "Just you? You're so pregnant. How can you manage alone in the hospital? Where's Michael?" Knowing Michael was on a business trip, Mark didn't hesitate. Without even grabbing a jacket, he joined us in the cab. At the hospital, Tommy's condition wasn't good. The doctor said he needed to stay for observation. My heart sank. If anything happened to him, I'd be lost. Sitting in the hospital corridor, pregnant and alone, I broke down. Passers-by stared curiously. An elderly woman approached. "No family with you?" I shook my head. Other patients whispered. "Her husband's so irresponsible. Wife pregnant, son critically ill, and he doesn't show up. If my husband were like that, I'd never have his kid. She's brave, carrying a second child for a man like that." Their words pierced me. Mark brought me water. "Drink this. It'll be okay." I thanked him, saying, "I've troubled you too much today. You should go." He shook his head. "No problem, but call Michael. He needs to be here. No job is more important than you and Tommy." His words stunned me. I called Michael again. This time, he answered. "Hello, honey?" It was noisy on his end, odd for 6 a.m. "Where are you?" I asked instinctively. Silence then. "Helping a friend with something. You called earlier? What's wrong?" "Helping with what?" I pressed. He chuckled. "What's with you? You sound off. What's going on?" He dodged, redirecting the conversation. "Tommy's got a high fever. It's dangerous. Can you come back?" I tried to stay calm, but my voice cracked. Normally, Michael would drop everything to be with us. But now, a brief silence, then, "Honey, I really can't. Can I call Sarah to go to the hospital with you?" Before I could respond, a woman's voice came through. "Michael, your daughter." The call cut off. I froze, phone in hand. The woman had called him Michael and mentioned your daughter. Michael and I had been married 5 years with only Tommy and the baby in my belly. That girl was his. Thinking of his suggestion to call Sarah, I opened the surveillance feed. Sure enough, Michael had called her, asking her to go to the hospital. Sarah's voice was clear. "Are you crazy? Mom and I are on our way to your wedding. How can I go to the hospital? I've said it before. Lisa's so fake. It's just a fever. No big deal." Her tone was venomous, unlike her usual sweet facade. She hung up then, while driving, spoke to the girl in the back. "Sweetie, your dad's like that. He barely managed to sneak away to marry us, and now that woman's clinging to him. It's so unfair." My body felt struck by lightning. A wedding. Linda and Sarah were going to Michael's wedding with his mistress, Jane Miller. Everyone knew he had a mistress and a daughter, while I, 6 months pregnant, sat crying over my sick son. They were joyfully heading to his wedding. I sat frozen, laughing through tears. A nearby child pointed at me, scared. "Mom, why's she crying and laughing?" The mother hurried away. "Don't mind her. She's crazy." My phone screen was still on. Sarah never imagined the brooch was a live feed camera. Soon, they got out of the car. Michael and Jane appeared, warmly greeting them. "Thanks for coming," Jane said, shamelessly calling Linda Mom and Sarah Sis. From their conversation, I pieced it together. Jane was the other woman with no legal status. Since I grew up and married in the city, rarely visiting Michael's hometown, Linda devised a plan to hold a wedding for Jane there. Though they couldn't register it, it gave her a symbolic promise. Michael agreed. Jane fawned over Sarah, trying to win her over. I stared at her face on the screen, my lips twitching in disbelief. I'd assumed Michael's mistress would at least be prettier than me. Jane looked older, unremarkable, like an aunt you'd pass on the street. Michael had a thing for mature women, which I thought was harmless. Apparently not. They chatted. Michael said, "Get the relatives seated. The ceremony's starting." I stared at him, the man I'd shared a bed with, now looking at Jane with eyes full of affection. Eyes I thought were only for me. My chest ached, my breath short. He'd been loving me while sleeping with her, fathering her child, and secretly marrying her. The ceremony began, lively and festive. Sarah stood in the front row, the camera capturing Michael and Jane on stage, beaming. The MC hyped the crowd, urging Michael to kiss the bride. My eyes burned as he smiled, wrapped his arm around Jane's waist, and kissed her deeply amid cheers. They clung to each other. My tears fell like rain. I frantically screenshot every moment, then turned off the screen. I didn't care anymore. This marriage was over. Sitting numbly in the corridor, with Tommy still critical, I called my mom. "Mom, can you come to the hospital? Tommy's really sick." I broke down before finishing. She rushed over by taxi. I went to the bathroom to wash my face, hiding my misery. In the mirror, my eyes were hollow, my pregnant body swollen, my face pale and haggard. I forced a bitter smile, but as I turned to leave, I didn't notice a puddle on the floor. I slipped and fell hard. Pain shot through me, and blood poured from between my legs. "Help! Save me!" A nurse heard my cries and rushed me to the ER. The news was grim. The fall had caused severe damage, and the baby's heartbeat was gone. They had to perform a procedure to remove the stillborn. My mom paced outside, distraught. She was elderly, yet I'd burdened her with this. Guilt overwhelmed me. As I signed the consent forms, she wiped tears, whispering, "My poor child." After what felt like forever, they wheeled me out. My mom ran to me, eyes red. "How are you?" "Where's Tommy?" She pointed to the next room. "He's stable, getting IV fluids." Relieved, I exhaled. As long as Tommy was okay, nothing else mattered. My mom stayed by my side, wiping tears. "That poor baby, 6 months along. Where's Michael? You're so pregnant and he's not here?" Mentioning him felt like a vice on my heart. Images of him kissing Jane at their wedding made me nauseous. "Mom, maybe it's fate. The baby knew life wouldn't be easy." She looked at me, pensive. "Is Michael cheating?" I nodded, smiling bitterly. His whole family's at his wedding with his mistress today. My mom was livid, wanting to confront them, but I stopped her. Mom, no need. I'm divorcing him. She looked at me with pity, then sighed, supporting my decision. After Tommy's fever broke, we took him home with medication. The house felt empty and cold. That evening, they still hadn't returned. After dinner, my mom played with Tommy while I reviewed our finances and assets. First was the deed to our marital home. When we bought it, my parents offered to cover the down payment, but Michael insisted on borrowing the money instead. He worked hard, got promoted, and paid it back in 2 years. My dad praised his responsibility. Linda and Sarah had come to stay, claiming their hometown was too hot. A short visit turned into over a month. Since I hadn't contributed much to the house, I'd settle its division with Michael later. Then there were our savings, bank accounts, and Tommy's education fund. With my economics background, I managed our investments, so I knew more than Michael about this. As I calculated asset division, my phone rang. Hello, this is the police. Are you Michael's family? My laptop crashed to the floor. Was there an accident? My voice felt unreal. They confirmed. At 5:20 p.m., Michael, driving drunk, caused a fatal crash on the highway. He died instantly. 2 others were severely injured. I stood frozen long after the call ended. Michael was gone. What was the point of dividing assets now? The next day, I went to the hospital. The police handed me a box of Michael's belongings, saying, "Your mother-in-law and sister-in-law aren't doing well. If they don't wake soon, they may remain in a vegetative state." I nodded slowly. The police offered condolences and left. Seeing Linda and Sarah, I felt a complex mix of pain and something else. My baby was gone because they attended his secret wedding, but there are no what-ifs in life. Neighbors and relatives, unaware of the truth, visited with fruit baskets, their eyes full of pity. They whispered, "Poor Lisa. Her family was stable, and now this tragedy." A widow, and she lost her baby from grief. In their eyes, I was pitiful. But I pulled out the insurance policies I'd bought for Michael and Linda. As an economics major, I valued insurance. Health, life, accident. I'd covered everyone. Now, it paid off. The car was totaled, and the combined payouts from car, life, and accident insurance were massive. I calculated it, stunned. My husband's death had made me rich. I handled Michael's affairs, cremation, burial. I had no obligation to care for Linda, and Sarah was even less my responsibility. I called my father-in-law, telling him to pick them up or decide on their care. He pointed at me, furious. "Lisa, have you no conscience? They're your family!" I'd meant to spare their dignity, but his words changed that. I laughed coldly. "Dad, you know best. I'm not your only daughter-in-law, am I?" His face faltered. I pressed on. "The day I miscarried, didn't you all throw a wedding for Michael and his mistress? You stopped treating me as family long ago. I haven't reported Michael for a legal marriage out of respect for our years together." Neighbors and relatives whispered, and my father-in-law, humiliated, wished he could disappear. I left the hospital, done with them. When the insurance money arrived, I took Tommy to KFC. After eating, he asked, "Mom, where's Dad?" I told him Dad was on a long business trip. Seeing his sadness, I knew we couldn't stay in this house, filled with memories. We'd bought it for work convenience before I was pregnant or quit my job. Now, with Michael gone and my job over, staying would only bring pain. I decided to sell the house, move Tommy to a better school, and give him a fresh start. My mom supported the plan. The sale went smoothly. Several buyers were interested. One was close to signing when Jane Miller showed up with her daughter, causing a scene. She scared the buyer off and threw herself on the floor, refusing to leave. I glared at her. "What are you doing? Keep this up and I'll call the police." Her wrinkled face twisted with disdain. "Don't threaten me with cops. I'm Michael's woman. This is his daughter. We're his real family. I know he died in the crash, and the insurance paid out big." I laughed coldly. She was after the money. I watched her act like a clown in my house, then quietly recorded her. Her daughter cried, scared, but Jane ignored her, demanding half the payout. I grabbed a broom. If everyone could just throw a tantrum and get money, what are police for? I pushed her toward the door. "I'm a widow, and I'm the sole beneficiary." She clung to the doorframe. "Don't think you're better because you're younger and have a son. I have proof." She played a recording of a drunk Michael promising to care for her and their daughter, and a video of their wedding. I didn't bother watching. I called building management. "There's a disturbance here." Seeing I wasn't engaging, Jane's face darkened. "Lisa, don't think I'm helpless. We're both Michael's wives. The money should be split. You only have a marriage certificate over me." I scoffed. "Jane, learn some law. That certificate makes all the difference. I could sue Michael for bigamy. Your wedding is worthless. And the money he spent on you? That's marital property. I could demand it back." Her face paled, whether from my calling her old or the truth sinking in. "You liar!" she screamed, lunging at me. Security arrived, dragging her and her daughter out. They apologized. "Sorry, we'll ensure people like her don't get in again." I watched them leave, peace returning. I sold the house, moved Tommy to the best school, and bought a cozy 2-bedroom apartment for us. I invested most of the money and started a small business with the rest. Our life became stable and happy. Later, Jane somehow got my contact info, harassing me with different numbers, demanding half the money or she'd make my life hell. I gathered all her messages and evidence, handing them to the police. She stopped bothering me. Tommy grew more mature. Once, when I picked him up from school, kids teased him for not having a dad. He stood up to them confidently, silencing them. My mom suggested I remarry, but I refused. I'd rediscovered the freedom I had before marriage. Why think about remarrying now? I once thought Michael's death was an unbearable tragedy, but maybe it was a gift from fate.